The wind came like a whisper with teeth, dry, cracked, stinging across her face as she stumbled through the dying light. A sliver of sun clung to the desert rim, bleeding orange across the sky, already bruising into dusk. She pulled the scarf tighter over her mouth, but her lips were already split, tongue dry as gunpowder. One hand cradled her belly, the other clenched the strap of her canteen like a prayer. Nothing moved but the wind and her. No birds, no hooves, just the slow, deliberate steps of a woman who should have died 2 days ago. Her name wasn't spoken aloud anymore. Out here, names felt like temptations, something the land would strip from you if you clung too tight. She'd lost everything else already. The man, the horses, the trail, but not the child. Not yet. She dropped to her knees beside a thorn bush, its branches twisted like the bones of an old man's hand. The mule had given out in the night. The rest was on her. In her, she could feel the baby turning, low and heavy, as if trying to burrow away from the sun. There had been no food for 2 days. She'd traded her last bullets for dried apricots at a station long burned to cinders. She didn't regret it. Bullets don't feed the unborn. And even if she had a gun now, she'd use it on herself before letting them catch her. Them, the men who followed. 2 shapes in the distance, sometimes black and tall on the ridgeline. Not always there, but never gone. She knew their boots. One dragged a limp right leg. The other smelled like cinnamon and blood. They thought she was carrying something worth dying for. They were wrong. She was carrying something worth killing for. The sky darkened as she moved again, every step a gasp. She crested a small rise and saw it. The remnants of a homestead, nothing more than 2 scorched posts in the shadow of a roofline. The chimney still stood, like a broken tooth against the stars. She approached like a ghost, one palm on her belly, the other dragging across the stone for balance. A flicker of movement, too small to be a threat. A child. He stood in the doorway with a tin cup in his hands and dirt smeared across his face. 8, maybe 9. Apache or half. Eyes sharp as knives, though he didn't lift them when he spoke. "You're bleeding," he said. Voice soft, steady. She looked down. Blood. Not much, not from the child. From her thigh, where the thorn bush had torn through her dress. "Water," she rasped. He nodded once, then disappeared into the ruin. She sank down by the doorway, breath shallow. The wood was cool beneath her palm, the first relief she'd felt in days. The silence here was different. Not hollow, not threatening. Heavy, maybe. Watching. The boy returned with the cup. She drank slow, every swallow like swallowing sand, but she didn't stop. "You came from the south," he said. She nodded. "Why?" Her fingers tightened around the cup. "I'm looking for someone." He tilted his head. "Lots of ghosts in those hills. You sure he's not one of them?" "He was real once," she said. "Might still be." "What's his name?" She looked into the boy's face, and for a long moment, she said nothing. "He used to go by Wade." The boy's eyes flickered, but he didn't speak. "Not for a while. People say a man lives up there," he said finally. "Don't talk to no one. Changed his name. Some say he went mad. Others say he found peace. I don't know." She closed her eyes, swaying slightly. The child kicked. She held her belly, exhaled slow. "Can I stay here tonight?" The boy looked over his shoulder at the dark, hollow shell of his home, then back at her. "Don't sleep too deep," he said. "This land forgets easy." Later, after the moon rose like a pale coin behind a broken chimney, she lay on a bed of ash and sand, her coat pulled over her body. She listened to the boys snoring soft near the hearthstone. A hawk cried somewhere in the black. The desert creaked and shifted. The baby turned again, stronger this time. She whispered into the night, to the child, to the man who once held her beneath starlight and promised they'd ride away clean. "I ain't dying out here. You hear me? You don't get to die before you see his eyes." The fire had long burned out, but in the shadows, her voice was still flame. A wind moved through the trees like a memory too soft to hold, whispering against pine bark, brushing through the tall grass with secrets on its breath. Wade sat by the fire, boots off, coat draped over his shoulders, his eyes fixed on the dark beyond the flames. The mountains rose behind him like ancient shoulders, hunched and watching. He didn't sleep well up here. He hadn't in years. He rubbed the small silver ring between his thumb and forefinger, smooth, warm from the fire. He told himself he kept it for reasons he didn't understand. But the truth was, it had weight, like regret. Some nights, the past came in quiet. Others, it showed up screaming. Tonight, it came in the shape of a girl's face half hidden by smoke, blood on her lip, laughter in her eyes. He could still feel the heat of her skin on his hands, the way she looked at him like he wasn't a lost cause. Then came the gunfire, the betrayal, the desert bleeding her dry. He closed his fists around the ring and stood, tossing what was left of the coffee into the dirt. It hissed like a snake and died. His horse shifted nearby. So did the boy. The kid had no name he shared, no words either. Small, sharp, always watching. Wade had found him 2 weeks back beside a broken wagon, sitting next to a dead man with a caved-in skull. No tears, just waiting. Wade hadn't asked questions, just gave the boy a blanket and some beans, and kept riding. The boy followed, never spoke, never left. Now he slept close to the fire, dagger tucked under his palm like a promise. Wade didn't mind the silence. Most talk was worthless anyhow. But the boy's eyes, those carried questions. Wade looked north. Stars hung cold and distant. Somewhere beyond those ridges, folks whispered his name like a ghost story. Some said he died. Others said he'd gone savage, living off rabbits and old sins. The truth was less romantic. He'd gotten tired of chasing death and decided to let it find him slow. But death had a way of delaying the inevitable, and sometimes it came wrapped in stories. Earlier that day, a trader passed through the canyon, his mule lame and nerves twitching. He recognized Wade, didn't say it aloud, but it was in the way his eyes twitched, how he kept calling him sir, even though Wade didn't wear a badge or a gun he showed. "There's a woman," the trader had muttered, fumbling with his saddle cinch. "Come up from the barrens. Alone. Pregnant. Looks near dead." Wade didn't flinch. "And she's a skin about a man used to run with Ball's Gully's gang. Claims she ain't afraid of dying, just afraid of finding him too late." The trader had laughed, like it was a funny thing. Hope. Wade hadn't laughed back. Now he sat with that story sitting heavy in his ribs. Could be coincidence. Could be a trap. The Ball's Gully gang still had its claws. The past had a habit of clawing back. But if it was her, if she was alive, he stood again. Couldn't sit still now. His bones were stirring in a way they hadn't in years. He remembered the last time he saw her. Blood in her hair. Sand in her mouth. Her voice cracked but defiant. She'd beg him not to leave, but he had. Gunfire echoing. Dust rising. She disappeared in the blur of a horse's gallop and a man's cowardice. He thought she'd died. Had to believe it. Believing otherwise would mean he chose wrong. Would mean every day since had been lived in the shadow of a sin he couldn't name but felt all the same. The boy stirred in his bedroll. Wade tossed another log onto the fire. Sparks climbed into the sky like prayers. Down in the trees, a twig snapped. Too heavy for rabbit or deer. Wade crouched low, hand on the hilt of the knife tucked into his boot. The boy was already awake, eyes wide, blade in hand. No fear, just readiness. From the black came 2 silhouettes. Riders. Slow. Watching. He didn't need to see their faces to know who they were. He remembered the way one of them favored his right side, how the other chewed clothes like candy to hide the smell of rot in his teeth. They hadn't seen him yet. Wade gestured silently to the boy. Stay down. The riders passed without stopping, headed north. He waited until the sound of hooves faded into the trees, then let his breath out. The boy looked at him, then toward the trail, question in his eyes. "They're hunting something," Wade murmured. "Or someone." The boy tilted his head. Thoughtful. Wade didn't say more. Didn't need to. But inside, something turned over like a shovel hitting old bone. That woman, whoever she was, if she was still walking, she didn't have long. He unrolled his saddle blanket, checked his rifle. He hadn't gone looking for anyone in a long time. He'd made peace with ghosts. But this wasn't about peace. This was about reckoning. As he packed his things, the boy stood and followed, silent as shadow. Wade looked once over his shoulder, at the fire dying behind them. The ring sat in his pocket, warm again. "Let's ride," he muttered. The boy didn't ask where. The trail ahead would be hard, steep, and full of old wounds. But Wade no longer felt like a man hiding from the dead. He felt like a man about to wake one. The mule gave out just after the last rise, folding slow like a crumpled letter, legs buckling in the dust. She didn't cry. She didn't curse. Just stood there a long while, belly aching, hands on her knees, breath dragging through cracked lips. The sun had dropped behind the canyon wall, leaving the trail swaddled in pink hush and long shadow. Her dress clung damp to her thighs, salt-stained and heavy. She was more bone than woman now, but still she moved. She walked the last mile on instinct, feet bruised, vision narrowed. The trading post was little more than a shack of warped wood and bent nails, half swallowed by brush and time. Smoke leaked from the chimney. A wind chime made of antlers whispered above the doorframe. She pushed it open, expecting nothing but silence. A woman stood behind the counter, white hair tied back, sleeves rolled, rifle leaning easy at her side. Eyes hard, not cruel, just tired of being lied to. "You look like something the desert spit out," the woman said. "I feel worse." "You come for trade or trouble?" "I got a silver locket. No chain. Mule's dead. I need food, salt, directions." The woman looked her over again, took the locket without a word, poured dried beans into a cloth sack, tossed in jerky, a strip of linen, then asked low and plain, "You headed toward the high pass?" She nodded. "You chasing something up there or running from it?" "Both," she said and meant it. That night, she camped near a ridge where the wind sang low through pine. She lit no fire, chewed jerky with slow teeth, eyes on the stars. The child shifted again, slower now, like even it was learning to be cautious. She pressed her hand against the swell of her belly and whispered, "We're close. I can feel it." She didn't hear the boy until he was almost beside her. No sound, just a small shape at the edge of the fireless dark, holding a satchel. It was the same boy from the ruined homestead. Same quiet, same stare. Her mouth opened, but before she could speak, he turned and gestured. "Follow." She did. He led her down a path of shale and old roots, up and around a canyon lip, where a narrow trail curved toward the trees. The sky above was bruised black, stars tangled like thorns. Her body ached, but her heart pounded louder. She didn't know why she trusted him. She just did. They reached a clearing where a small fire burned low beneath a rock overhang. A man sat with his back to her, tending the flame. His shoulders were broader than she remembered, hair longer, but the slope of his spine, the quiet way he moved, those hadn't changed. Her knees buckled. The boy made no sound as he faded into the trees, leaving her there, breath caught halfway between fear and fury. Wade turned. At first, he didn't speak, just stared at her like he couldn't believe she was real. His jaw was rough with days of growth, and his eyes, those eyes, carried years she hadn't seen before. "I thought you were dead," he said. "I was," she whispered. He stood slowly, didn't move toward her, just stood there, arms loose at his sides like he didn't trust himself. "You left me," she said, louder now. "You rode off while I was still breathing. You knew I was alive. You knew." "I didn't know," he said. "I told myself I didn't. That's different." She took one shaky step closer. "You didn't bury me, Wade. You abandoned me." "I buried what I could find," he said. "The rest, I couldn't face." The fire cracked between them. Her eyes burned. "You don't even ask," she said. He blinked. "Ask what?" She ran her palm over her stomach, slow, deliberate. "Who I'm carrying." Silence. Then, his voice low and shaken. "It's mine." "Who else would it be?" she spat. "You think I just moved on, found someone new in the middle of the desert with a bullet in my leg, and no name to give?" He stepped closer. The flames lit the hard lines of his face. Older, worn, but not broken. You should have stayed gone, he said, voice almost a whisper. Would have been safer. I'm not looking for safe, she said. I'm looking for man who left me to die, the one who said he loved me. I did, he said. She looked down. Then say it like you still do. He didn't. Not right then. Behind him, the boy returned to the fire and sat down, pulled a can from his pack, handed it to her. It was a quiet offering. She nodded thanks, eyes never leaving Wade. They ate in silence, firelight flickering between them. The canyon breathed. Later, after the boys slept, she sat beside Wade with her knees pulled up, dress stretched tight across her stomach. He rolled a smoke but didn't light it. I saw 2 riders, he said, pass through the trees below us. They're close. They've been close for days. They know about the child? I think they know about you. He rubbed his jaw, the stubble rasping. I should have killed them when I had the chance. No, she said. You should have stayed. He looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time, something cracked in him. I thought if I buried the past deep enough, it wouldn't follow me. You're wrong, she said. It doesn't follow. It waits. He touched her hand, barely a brush. What do we do? He asked. We ride, she said. Together this time. His fingers closed around hers. Not tight, not yet, but enough. In the trees below, something moved. A branch snapped. She didn't flinch. Neither did he. It was time. The morning broke sharp and silver. Fog clung low across the tree line, whispering over pine needles and the broken trail that wound down to the canyon. A raven circled high above, its call like a warning from the sky. Wade cinched the saddle tight with one hand and held the rifle with the other. The fire was ash now. The boys stood watch with that silent steadiness he carried like armor, while she, heavy with child, face shadowed by sleeplessness, tied her hair back with a piece of frayed ribbon. They didn't speak much. There wasn't room left for words that hadn't already been said. Everything between them lived in the silences. The way she checked her knife twice, the way he looked at her like every moment might be the last. Even the boy watched them differently now, as if something sacred and dangerous hung between the 3 of them, trembling on a thread. They're close, Wade said. Too close to outrun. She nodded. Then we don't run. He looked at her, long and slow. You sure you're ready for this? I've been dying for weeks, she said. This is the first time I felt alive. The boy led the way, down past the boulders, through the black pines, toward a hollow shaped like a cradle carved into mountain. Wade had picked it years ago for days like this, a place with cover, high vantage, only 2 ways in. By mid-morning, the clouds had broken. Sunlight painted the ridge gold. The wind changed. They came just after noon, 2 riders moving with the practiced slowness of men who've killed often and without pause. One rode heavy, shoulders hunched like he was part of the horse. The other was lean, face sunken, the smell of clove tobacco arriving before he did. Wade saw them first through the trees and tapped the boy's shoulder. He melted into the rock without a sound, knife ready. Wade turned to her. Stay behind the rise. Don't shoot unless you have to. She didn't answer. She just stared out past the trees, one hand on her belly, the other resting on the butt of the pistol she'd barely touched in a year. The men dismounted slow, didn't bother hiding. You Wade, the clove chewer called, or whatever name you wear now. Wade stepped out from behind the rock, rifle down but not slack. I was, once. You got something belongs to us, the heavy one said. She shouldn't have lived. That wasn't the deal. Wade looked at them, eyes hard. No deals left, just reckoning. The first shot came from the boy, fast, clean, straight into the shoulder of the heavy man, who screamed and dropped. The second pulled his revolver and fired blind, hitting the stone near Wade's knee. Wade returned fire, caught the man high in the chest, but not enough to drop him. The clearing erupted. Gunfire cracked. Birds scattered from the trees. The wounded one crawled toward his saddlebag with blood pooling beneath him. The other stumbled behind a fallen log, reloading with shaking hands. Wade moved fast, low, firing again, His shot hit true, center mass. The man collapsed like cloth. Then the pain hit him, a burning, sudden bloom in his side. He fell against the rocks, blood soaking his shirt, breathing shallow. The boy was already moving, knife flashing, slicing to the final man's throat before he reached his rifle. Silence fell, broken only by Wade's breath rasping in the dust. She ran to him, knees slamming hard into the stone beside his body. No, not now. I'm all right. He lied, but the blood told the truth. Her hands pressed against the wound, fierce and shaking. You don't get to leave again. You don't. He coughed, then managed to smile. Not planning to, just buying us time. The boy knelt beside them, offering a strip of cloth. Together they bound the wound. Rough, quick, enough to hold. Later, when the sun dipped again, Wade leaned back against the rock, pale but breathing. She sat beside him, arm looped tight around his. Her head rested against his shoulder. I thought I came here to finish something, she said. Turns out I came to begin it. He turned his head slowly to look at her. You said you were dying. You still feel that way. No, she whispered. Now I feel like I have to live. The boy sat across from them, sharpening his blade, eyes steady. Wade reached into his coat and pulled out the silver ring. It gleamed in the dusk. I kept this, he said. All this time. She looked at it, then him. Why? Because I knew I'd never stop needing a reason to be better than I was. He held it out. She didn't take it. Instead, she leaned forward, pressed her forehead to his. Then be better. Not for me, for him. She placed his hand gently over her belly. The child kicked. And for the first time in years, Wade cried, not from pain, from the terrible, beautiful weight of something worth surviving for. Night came, and with it, a calmness in the trees. Tomorrow they'd bury the dead. Tomorrow they'd ride again. But tonight, the three of them sat beneath the stars, a fire crackling low. The land quiet at last. Not healed, not yet, but willing, and in the dark, the wind no longer whispered fear. It whispered names.